Spring and summer are the seasons where warm and moist air bake the United States every year. When these parameters overlap with wind shear, usually associated with a trough, tremendous amounts of convection results, and some storms begin to develop rotating mesocyclones. This is the beginning stage of tornado genesis. In this video, I'll be attempting to forecast where and when tornadoes will strike this year in my 2025 tornado season forecast. To forecast months in the future, we need to look at ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. Right now, waters in the equatorial Pacific are just below average, meaning that we are in a weak La Nina. However, models do predict that the waters will continue to get warmer, resulting in a likely ENSO neutral as we get into March, April, and into May, which is usually when tornado season peaks. To get a good understanding of how these different seasons affect our severe weather season here in the US, this graphic compares the average tornado frequency between the US with a La Nina and El Nino season. You can see clearly that with a La Nina, we usually have more tornadoes and more large hail events, especially in the southern plains, where with El Nino, we usually see less tornadoes and large hail events in the US. So now that we know what ENSO season will be in, we can compare this year's forecast to past years with similar patterns to help predict the severity of this year's tornado season. First, we'll start with 2021. 2021 was a very similar year to what we're dealing with right now, with a weak La Nina heading into February and into March, quickly transitioning into an ENSO neutral as we got into April, May, and June during the height of tornado season. 2021 was a very active tornado season, with about 1,377 tornado reports coming in from the United States that year. Two of these were EF4s, one tracking across northwestern Georgia and another in eastern Kentucky, also known as the infamous Mayfield, Kentucky EF4 on December 10th. 2021 also had 101 tornado-related fatalities, which is well above average. 2021 also had two high-risk days on the Storm Predicting Center, which both occurred in Dixie Alley. The next year to look at is 2011. This year also came off of a very weak La Nina before transitioning into an ENSO neutral by the time we got into late spring and early summer, which is very similar to our pattern this year, which shows why I chose this as one of our analogs. 2011 was a very active tornado season, with the third most tornadoes in a single year being recorded, behind 2004 and 2024. This year included the most EF5 rated tornadoes in a single year, with 6 tornadoes being rated EF5. This year also included 4 high risk on the Storm Prediction Center, and also included the most tornadoes ever recorded on a single day, which was the notorious April 27th super outbreak. To get a better understanding of when tornadoes will usually touch down, regardless of the ENSO season or the current anomalies, we can take a look at this graphic which shows us the average tornadoes by month across the US. You can see that during the March, April, May, and June months, during the spring and early summer seasons, we usually see the most tornadoes. This means that tornado season usually peaks around late spring and early summer. Now that we know what ENSO season we're going to be in, and that we've looked at our past analogs, it is time for me to premiere my 2025 official tornado season forecast. To start out with my official 2025 forecast, we're going to look at the northwestern United States, where I'm expecting a slightly below average tornado season. I think that we will see a couple tornadoes at best, but I really do think that we will see storms mainly track through the middle of the country, and I do think that we're just overall not going to see a big season. I think that at times could definitely spill a little bit farther to the south and west, so I do think parts of the plains could definitely remain a little bit on the more average side and maybe even dip slightly below average at times during the season. Then we go over to my next zone where I do think we will see slightly above average tornado season for parts of the lower Midwest and maybe even parts of the eastern plains. And I do think the plains is going to be once again a big wild card area. I think that during some parts of the season we will see more below average or average tornado frequency, but I do think at some points we may end up seeing very, very active tornado frequency. So that's why I do have you guys currently in that slightly above average zone if you are in the light red shade. And then finally, in the dark red shade, that's where I am expecting above average tornadoes. I think we will see definitely a very active tornado season, especially towards the Gulf Coast and the deep south. I think parts of the Tennessee Valley and into Dixie Alley will definitely be active during most of this year's tornado season. And before we end this video, I do want to go over my overall season and year notes here. So I do think that we will see a near average tornado season. I also do think that we will see the return of Dixie Alley. I do think that most of our severe weather outbreaks will be kind of localized or focused down into the deep south and definitely into parts of Dixie Alley. I do also think that we will see major severe weather outbreaks throughout the year. And then also, I do think the plains will be average most of the season. I think at times we will see above average tornadic activity and also below average tornadic activity. So I think just the overall kind of season activity will definitely fluctuate throughout the year, but I definitely do think that it'll most likely be a quite the average season for the plains this year. That's going to wrap up the video, so I appreciate all of you for coming to watch, and if you haven't already, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, because we will be doing live severe weather coverage here on YouTube all year long, so please be sure that you have all notifications on so that you don't miss out on a video or live stream. Thank you all for coming to watch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.